Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at human physiology through a pretty fascinating lens. We're going to treat the body like an active construction site. Think about a master architect constructing a skyscraper, right? They don't just start throwing steel beams into the air and cross their fingers hoping for the best. No way. They need a meticulous blueprint for the structure, and they need the exact right high-quality materials delivered to the site to make that blueprint a reality. Well, today, your body is that construction site. We're looking at the ultimate architect's blueprint for building stronger, wider shoulders, and then, absolutely crucially, the nutritional materials you actually need to fuel that recovery and force muscle growth. It's a simple question, but man, it trips up so many people. You want the results, sure. You want that defined, balanced physique, but do you actually have the blueprint? You see, the sources highlight a fascinating biological reality. What happens on the gym floor simply sends the signal to build. That's it. If you don't follow that up with what happens in the kitchen, you're basically an architect without any bricks. So we're going to explore both halves of this equation today, step by step.
Okay, let's dive into this. Just as a quick refresher on our foundational anatomy, building a truly balanced, strong, and injury-free shoulder actually requires us to hit all three parts, or heads, of the deltoid. That's the front, the side, and the rear. If you just train the front, which honestly a lot of people do through heavy push-ups and bench presses, you end up with those rolled forward shoulders and frankly terrible posture. To avoid that entirely, we need the complete blueprint. Now, before a single heavy weight gets lifted, the construction site has to be prepped. Taking just 5 to 10 minutes to run through arm circles, band pull-aparts, shoulder rotations, and some light dumbbell raises is literally the most critical first step before breaking ground. Your shoulder is an incredibly complex joint with a massive range of motion. So this warm-up physically pushes blood into the muscles, lubricates those joints, and preps your central nervous system for the heavy work ahead. The data strongly suggests that skipping this phase is the absolute fastest way to derail the entire building process.
All right, now we're onto the heavy machinery, the overhead shoulder press. This is the foundational pillar of upper body strength. It primarily targets overall shoulder power and essentially supports every single other upper body movement you do. For the blueprint here, the focus is heavily on a smooth, controlled motion. You want to keep that core tight and completely avoid any arch in the lower back. We're looking at 3 to 4 sets of 8 to 12 reps. Listen, if you have to lean way back just to get the weight up, the weight is simply too heavy. Structure over ego, always. Moving outward to the side deltoids, dumbbell lateral raisers are the absolute key to creating that wider shoulder appearance. We're looking at 3 to 4 sets of 12 to 15 reps here. And guys, the mechanics are everything. You want to raise the dumbbells right to shoulder height, pause for a microsecond, and then lower them slowly. The single most important thing here, avoid swinging your body. If you look like a bird trying to take flight by throwing your hips into it, well, you aren't really working your shoulders anymore. Keeping the pace moving, we shift to the front of the shoulder with front raises. This specifically targets those front deltoids. The blueprint outlines 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps here. And just like the lateral raises, the theme of our architectural approach remains totally consistent. Lift with strict control and absolutely no momentum. You want the muscle doing the work, not gravity, right? Slow, deliberate contractions are exactly what signal those muscle fibers to adapt and grow. This brings us to a frequently overlooked part of the blueprint. Because they're behind you, the rear delts are often just ignored, which the sources point out as a massive cause of structural imbalance. But we fix this with 2 specific movements. First, the rear delt fly. Ideally, do this chest supported on a bench so you can't cheat, gently squeezing your shoulder blades together for 3 to 4 sets of 12 to 15 reps. Second, face pulls. Using a cable rope, pull the ropes straight toward your face, keeping your elbows nice and high. Combining these 2 exercises will absolutely bulletproof your upper back.
Now, what's really interesting about this comparison is how it sharply contrasts the correct technique against those common, ego-driven mistakes. It becomes incredibly obvious why so many people just stall out. Sacrificing your form for a heavier weight, swinging the dumbbells like pendulums, skipping that vital warm-up, and pretending the rear delts don't exist. These are exactly the things that sabotage growth. On the flip side, controlled motion and perfect form are literally always going to yield better results than lifting heavy with terrible technique. Okay, so you've finished the workout. You've successfully sent the signal. Now we leave the gym floor and walk right into the kitchen. Because when you lift weights, you aren't actually building muscle in that moment. You are literally breaking it down, creating microscopic tears in the muscle fibers. Plus, you've just depleted your body's stored energy. That brings us to the crucial 2-hour post-workout window. Eating a balanced meal within roughly 2 hours after your training is a highly practical, scientifically backed approach to halting muscle breakdown and flipping the biological switch right over to repair and recovery. So, the crucial point is choosing the right materials. If protein is the brick and mortar for your muscles, you want the premium stuff. We're talking chicken breast, eggs, fish, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, or some fantastic plant-based options like tofu and lentils. If you can't really stomach a full meal right after the gym, a protein shake works beautifully too. The goal is super simple. Get a good, solid serving of high-quality protein into your system to start patching up those micro tears immediately. But hey, protein shouldn't be riding solo here. Don't forget your carbohydrates. Carbs have gotten a kind of bad reputation in some fitness circles over the years, but when we look at the actual science of recovery, they are essential. Think of your muscles like a gas tank. During that intense shoulder workout, you burned through your premium fuel. Healthy carbohydrates are exactly what you need to refill that stored energy. They restock the tank so you have the energy to function for the rest of your day, and more importantly, they help shuttle those protein building blocks right into the muscles. And this brilliantly illustrates how we can navigate that incredibly confusing supplement aisle. Breaking it down by digestion speed makes it so much simpler to choose the right tool for the job. Whey protein digests fast, making it perfect for post-workout if you tolerate dairy well. Whey isolate is just a more processed version with less fat and lactose, which is great if your stomach is a bit sensitive. Casein digests very slowly, making it amazing right before bed for a sustained release of amino acids. And plant-based options like pea, soy, or rice are fantastic dairy-free alternatives. It's all about picking the exact tool that fits your specific dietary needs. However, the research points to one very clear golden rule here. Your total daily protein intake matters far more than chugging a shake the exact second you drop your final dumbbell. Remember, supplements are exactly that, supplementary. They do not and should not replace balanced meals. While getting nutrients in right after a workout is a great practice, it's spreading your protein intake consistently across your entire day that truly moves the needle. Hitting your overall daily goal is the real secret to structural progress. And finally, we arrive at perhaps the most critical number in this entire process: 7 to 9. That is the number of hours of sleep you absolutely need each night. You see, you break the muscle down in the gym. You feed the muscle in the kitchen. But the actual physical construction, the rebuilding process, that almost entirely happens while you are unconscious in bed. If you're only sleeping 4 hours a night, you are literally cutting your construction crew's shift in half. Prioritize 7 to 9 hours and just watch your recovery and growth skyrocket. So here we are. You now hold the complete architect's blueprint for training your shoulders safely and effectively, and you know exactly how to fuel that recovery with premium nutrition and proper rest. But knowledge is only potential energy, right? Taking action is what actually builds the structure. You now have the blueprint and the fuel, but it begs a fascinating question. If you look closely at your own routine, are you actually building a masterpiece, or have you just been swinging heavy steel and hoping for the best? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I can't wait to dive into our next topic with you.